ranking the end of series or Hell Arc Gotei 13 from weakest to strongest. To be more specific, ranking the captains. Mind you, this is pointless since Mayuri has a laser and he's solos. Anyway, if you're new here, welcome to my channel, Aizen's World. Now, it's not just Aizen's World, but you get the picture. If you like my stuff, be sure to like and subscribe. Stick around, ask questions, watch videos, vote in the polls, and so on. Yes, the end of series Gotei 13 is in fact the Hell Arc Gotei 13, consisting of Shunsui Kyoraku, Soi Fun, Rojuro Otoribashi, Isane Kotetsu, Shinji Hiraku, Byakuya Kuchiki, Iba Tetsuzaimon, Lisa Yadomaru, Kensei Muguruma Toshiro Hitsugaya, Himpachi Zaraki, Mayuri Kurotsuchi, and Rukia Kuchiki. For the sake of clarification, end of series means after the Can Fear Your Own World novel and up to the Hell chapter. Now if you're ready, shall we begin? The weakest captain in the current Gotei 13 would be Isane Kotetsu. Now don't get me wrong, she is a fighter and she's very skilled at Kido. Her Zanpakuto Itegumo, which means frozen snow, is likely an ice type Zanpakuto like Toshiro Hitsugaya's. And despite her position, it is likely that she doesn't even possess a Bankai. After all, the real purpose behind her promotion was so that they could find someone to fill the void from Unohana. She was urgently appointed to fill that void and could not refuse the proposal. Just above her, we have Iba Tetsuzaimon. He's multi-talented and excels in all 4 Shinigami arts: sword skills, Kido, martial arts, and flash step. He trains until late every night, sometimes even breaking many of his bones in the process. And we see the same behavior on display in the final chapters of Bleach. For these many reasons, he should be above Isane Kotetsu. At the 11th position, we have Lisa Yadomaru. Believe it or not, Lisa is insanely powerful. As one of the Visored, she has hollow powers, and as a measure of time, she has more experience than even Byakuya Kuchiki, as she was Shunsui's lieutenant over 110 years ago, when Byakuya was quite literally a brat. Captain Yadomaru once fought a hollow-fied Bankai Ichigo, although he was using a fraction of his power. She's very advanced in Zanjutsu or sword fighting, even employing named attacks. She was among the trio which faced Haribel, the third Espada. And recall that Lisa's Zanpakuto is mostly featured to be melee type, and recall how immensely powerful Haribel was at close range. And props to her for using her hollow mask in the 1000-Year Blood War. But someone who could contend with upper Espadas way back in the Arrancar arc, and should also possess a Bankai currently, should be above Tetsuzaimon. At number 10, we have another Visored, Kensei Muguruma. Kensei's physical prowess is immense, strength, endurance, and durability. And as far as we know, he should have more experience with Bankai than Lisa. His Shikai should also give him a range advantage, and while his Bankai is mostly close range, he can also employ defensive measures with his armor. He can even discharge his explosive power infinitely. He even forced a Sternometer tier combatant to increase their powers more than once in order to counter his Bankai, and the blow from his Bankai could overcome the passive Reiatsu of a great noble like Tokinada. Just above Kensei, we have Toshiro Hitsugaya. As a side note, if he lasts long enough to activate adult form, he would destroy Kensei. In fact, if I were to rank this form, he would not be this low. Unlike Captains Hirako and Otoribashi, Kensei doesn't have too much to make him stronger. They have better metrics with which to judge their strength. But Toshiro is above Kensei because firstly, his Zanpakuto is very vast and powerful, even more powerful in the aspect of water manipulation than Tier Haribel, with Toshiro's main weakness during that time being his inability to control that vast power. However, Toshiro had gone on to master his child-sized Bankai in every way, whereas Kensei doesn't have any solid speed or power feats to put him above Toshiro, who can counter Kensei's close-range Bankai with a range of over 7 miles. Captain Itsugaya can even freeze explosions, and possesses infinite versatility with Hyorin Maru. Number 8, Soi Fun. For someone like Soi Fun, speed does not become an issue, as the captain of the Onmitsu Kido specializes in speed, whether it is in making speed clones to impress Aizen, or using any of the variety of Onmitsu Kido steps. As chief of the Onmitsu Kido, she can even make her Reiatsu untraceable to Quincy's. Furthermore, even after she was exhausted, a single shot from her Bankai was a threat to Baragan, whom according to Can Fear Your Own World is far beyond the likes of Haribel in terms of raw power and attack potency. Therefore, Soi Fun would possess better evasive skills and higher attack potency. Furthermore, she also possesses Mukyo Shunko, which greatly increases the strength of her strikes. But if Toshiro lasts long enough for this guy to come out, he negs. And if regular-sized Toshiro is able to find ways around Soi Fun's maneuvers, then their positions can be swapped. Number 7, Rojuro Otoribashi. I know, just hear me out. Captain Otoribashi, or Rose, is strong from Stark's perspective. The number 1 Espada above Baragan and Haribel calls him a tough opponent. And it wasn't on the basis that he was fighting both of them at the same time, as he directly confessed that his Seros cannot harm them. This is why he damaged his own soul to create the wolves to counter their power. And it took 2 gigantic attacks from the wolves to actually put them down. Rojuro also possesses a very versatile Shikai, which can employ physical attacks like a whip, or even energy-based attacks like Kido. And as long as he doesn't decide to sniff the roses and give a whole lecture on his Bankai abilities, the Kinshara Butodan controls your heart and then uses your beliefs to warp reality by turning illusions into reality. And it uses sound, so the range is enormous. Number 6. Shinji Hiraku. Shinji's intelligence, which was praised by Aizen, was further displayed in Can't Fear Your Own World. He could decipher Tokinada's moves and intentions at the same speed as Shunsui Kyoraku. He excels in the art of Kido, including illusion spells. When Busby tried to incinerate Omaida and Shinji with Burner Finger 3, which is more impressive than Burner Fingers 1 and 2, Shinji saved himself and Omaida because he was quick enough to put Busby under hypnosis, releasing his Shikai and inverting Busby's senses in an instant. During the Blood War, he demonstrated his power to reverse sound, but he decided to give Bambieta a lecture until she blew him up. Shinji's Sakanade Shikai is like a lesser version of Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu. Its degree of control over your senses is 100%, except Shinji can only do reversal illusions. In the character book and Can't Fear Your Own World, it is mentioned that Shinji can also train his Zanpakuto to reverse the other senses. An extremely powerful Shikai. Even the likes of Tokinada could be hypnotized without being aware, someone who showed higher sensory powers than Shunsui Kyoraku. Number 5. Captain Rukia Kuchiki. After Rukia underwent Royal Palace training, she became durable enough to catch Asnod's arrows, fast enough to keep up with him, and confident enough to jump the other Sternritters along with Renji. She could counter Asnod's spiritual power, although the Sternritter was strong enough to steal Byakuya's Bankai, which defeated the strongest Espada alongside Zaraki, and she could physically match an Asnod who faced pre-Royal Palace Byakuya, who had improved even more significantly after his battle with Yami. Rukia's main drawback is that she's still getting accustomed to her power, and we can only assume how much mastery she's gained up to the end of series. But being able to lower your temperature down to absolute zero is absolutely insane. Her Bankai takes that power and extends it beyond Rukia's range. And along with having a ranged one-shot Bankai, her Reiatsu was so massive that Byakuya could feel it all the way from Royal Palace as he was traveling down. An insane distance worthy of being expressed in astronomical units. Now, the captains above her more than likely have the skill set or intelligence to bypass and exploit her weaknesses. Number 4. Byakuya Kuchiki. Byakuya can be swapped with Shunsui Kyoraku, depending on what abilities they use and at what time. Captain Kuchiki is adept in every art of combat, and should have the intelligence and means to exploit Rukia's weaknesses. Along with Zaraki, he was able to defeat the Espada, who was worthy of number 0, an opponent beyond the likes of Coyote Stark and Baragan Ruzenband, and the captain of Squad 6 became even more powerful up to the Fullbring arc. He became so strong that his Shikai was eventually misidentified with the Bankai, and he had no problem facing and dropping 3 Sternritters, including the one who took Shunsui's eye. Head Captain Shunsui Kyoraku. His spiritual pressure should rival Byakuya Kuchiki and the other great nobles, based on his battle with Tokinada, and the combination of his Shikai games could back someone like Lilibaro into a corner, forcing him to use Volstandig. But that does depend on what mood the Zanpakuto spirit is in. As Shunsui explained to start, Katen Kyokotsu is not always in the mood to play certain games, which more than likely explains why Robert was able to put up a fight against the same Shikai that could push Lily this far. Now, Shunsui's Bankai is even more problematic. It would render the damage from Byakuya's attacks pointless, as damage would be shared. And with relative Reiatsu, they should both be in similar conditions. But one potential tiebreaker might be the Pillow of Shame. Say they're in similar conditions, the Pillow of Shame inflicts a disease upon Byakuya only, with the next stage equally exposing them to the Bankai's power. And then it might be reduced to a battle between Kyoraku's threads and Byakuya's blades. Number 2. Mayuri Kurotsuchi. I'll leave a link to my Mayuri vs Shunsui video in the description. During the war, Captain Kurotsuchi could react to Pernida's nerves, long after it was stated to be evolving up to Eye Patch Kenpachi's level. He knows the fundamental workings of both Byakuya and Shunsui's Bankais, and can use the data to modify his own Bankai to adapt. But the biggest problem is that Mayuri's tricks were stated to be a likely match for Ikone Ubuginu, a being far beyond the likes of Shunsui and Byakuya. Furthermore, Mayuri also knows that Byakuya got stronger since he went to Royal Palace, and with his insane analytical skills, which extends even down to the quantum level, he could easily reassess Byakuya's Bankai power. And Tokinada, who was toying with more than a dozen captain class fighters including Shunsui, made it very clear that their entire fight was child's play to Ikone. So for Mayuri through its equipment and tricks to be a potential rival for Ikone is insane. Furthermore, while you have to question if other characters got stronger, Mayuri definitely did. That's because the daily advancement in his technology is an advancement of his own strength. Number 1. Kenpachi Zaraki. He deserves the title Kenpachi because he is the strongest Soul Reaper. He matched Ikone by simply removing his eye patch and remaining in base form. The child who could merge Full Bring Step, Flash Step, Hidden Kyaku and Sonido into the hybrid step, achieving the pinnacle of movement technique, to whom the combined forces of more than a dozen captain class characters including Tokinada and Shunsui was child's play. And he one-shot Ikomiki Domoe, who had received power from the Ryo's fragment, to the extent that he could strip off Ichibe's Bankai and Shikai effects. Zaraki is simply unnatural and deserves to be number 1, second only to Hanataro, the strongest.